So recently, UFC middleweight Kevin Holland found himself on the Jaxxon podcast hosted by former UFC light heavyweight champion Quinton Rampage Jaxxon, no relation, and most likely Italian and very, very rich Bear DiGilio, just because there is no way somebody without generational financial freedom would ever think of naming their kid Bear, you know? Which tracks because I believe he's from some kind of the OC Seth Cohen type of area in California, which is completely beside the point that I'm trying to get into. Rampage and Kevin Holland almost got into a fight, and Bear pretty much let us know that something was going on right from the beginning of the podcast.
I feel like I gotta break the ice in the room real quick.
I know you don't gotta break no ice.
I do.
I do,
Rampage, because I love you, but I'm a fan of Kevin Holland. I love the way he talks.
I'm a fan of his too, but I know. Hey, I know everybody ain't my sense of humor ain't for everybody. So.
But you did this to him. It wasn't needed. I feel like you owe him an apology. He drove 3 hours.
Listen, we already talked about it on the FaceTime. You know what I'm saying? I like to joke around. I don't mean nothing personal with nobody. That's me. That's my sense of humor. Everybody ain't like me and everybody ain't like you. If people, I've learned throughout my life, if people don't like my sense of humor, it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Kevin, you could probably appreciate that attitude.
I mean, I guess, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Now, for a little bit of context, apparently there was an issue between the two going into the podcast, and the issue stemmed from Kevin Holland's fight against Michael Venom Page. And it was all about an Instagram comment that Rampage left on a picture of the two at the weigh-ins.
When he fought MVP does this thing right here, and Kevin Holland reached up and touched his hand like that. And I made a joke, and it wasn't even that funny.
Was it like this one where they do the?
No, that was being funny. I said, "Oh, them touching hands like that reminds me of two women scissoring."
And he got mad at that?
Yeah. Come on.
Oh, there's nothing. That's okay.
It's nothing, right?
I personally found the comment pretty funny because, let's face it, I mean, it's a fruity-ass picture. But at the same time, I can totally understand why Kevin Holland would be mad. First of all, he ended up getting embarrassed in that fight because he always falls back on the notion that nobody wants to stand up and, bang it out with him. Everybody wants to wrestle. And MVP didn't wrestle with him at all. He stood up with him and he just styled on him. And afterwards, Kevin Holland definitely looked embarrassed and salty, and in that mind state you look for anything positive, so he probably went online looking for a comment from a fan or maybe a fellow fighter saying something good like maybe Kevin Holland is a warrior, or Kevin Holland really hung in there, Kevin Holland could get him next time, maybe even that MVP ran from Kevin Holland, and if he stood in the pocket and banged with him it'd be a different story. And he comes across a comment where it says that he was trying to scissor the other guy. So naturally, he was upset. And seeing that this might be an issue, Bear apparently had Rampage and Kevin Holland do a FaceTime session to try and smooth their differences out before Kevin Holland shows up for the podcast in person. So what you're seeing at the beginning of the podcast is the remnants of that conversation where they almost got it taken care of, but there was still a little bit of that remaining tension, and almost anything could set it off. And I guess Kevin felt some type of way about the words that Rampage chose to use to say what he said about the situation, specifically when he said this.
I've learned throughout my life, if people don't like my sense of humor, fuck it.
And at that point, he seems to have decided that he was going to use that as an excuse to be extremely disrespectful to Rampage to try to escalate the situation.
Wow. That's usually, if you say fuck it to me, it's usually fuck you, so.
Well, I didn't say fuck you. I said fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I said. If you say fuck it to me, I usually say fuck you.
Well, fuck you too. I don't give a fuck.
And then it's fuck, and then it's F it, and then it's F
hey,
you.
Bro,
I like that.
Yeah. Bro, I got no problem with this cat.
Yeah, I love that.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm going to beat me whether he like it or not. I'm going to keep being myself and having the sense of humor that God gave me, and it makes me laugh. So I don't give a fuck.
Kevin,
Everything's not funny.
You think Rampage is a funny guy?
Nah, this has temper tantrum problems.
Temper tantrum problem.
I think he's talking about the Ultimate Fighter and the door.
I don't know what the fuck this.
That's like 10 years ago, Kevin. People
it's the
evolve.
Same thing. Not really.
You don't think people evolve?
Some do. Not Jaxxon.
Now, I've been complimentary of the way that Bear chose to handle the situation up until this point, but then he did something that almost caused Rampage and Kevin Holland to come to blows. See, Bear is in a really weird situation where he is part owner and the chief marketing officer of the podcast, but Rampage Jaxxon and the other fighters fighters that are on it, like TJ Dillashaw and Luke Rockhold, they are the main attractions that bring the viewers to the podcast. And that's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, they wouldn't get the names that they've been able to get on the podcast without them, but on the other, sometimes these guys have legitimate problems in real life with other fighters. Just off the top of my head, it got a little bit spicy with Rampage and Shannon Briggs, and they definitely had to have a conversation behind the scenes with TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. And this Kevin Holland Rampage situation was another one of those, but you can tell that Bear was a lot more nervous for this one because he took a chance on it. It wasn't really all good before Kevin came in. And what do people normally do when they're nervous in a tense situation? They start talking and oversharing, which is exactly what Bear did. But in doing so, he ended up saying something that triggered both Rampage and Kevin. He said that Kevin told him that he wanted to fight Rampage.
You know, Rampage left a little comment on Instagram, which I originally thought was funny, but then I understand where you were coming from.
I understand where
you
you're
were
coming
fighting
from.
MVP. You did this to MVP, which I thought it was a great move. Hyped up the fight. Rampage made a joke on Instagram, and then Kevin FaceTimed me and said, yo, if I come there, I got to fight. I said, Kevin, we can't do all that. Then we'll just have to reschedule. But I do want to say thank you for coming on the podcast a year later.
Yeah, that's the last thing he want to do is fight me, though. That's the last
Nah,
thing.
I still want to.
No,
I don't give a about the fight on Saturday.
No, you don't want to fight me.
I'm just being real.
I'm being real with you, young buck. You
I'm
don't
just
wanna
letting you
fight
know.
me. I'm just letting you know. You
sounds good.
Sometimes people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight me.
I feel like
sounds
Kevin,
good.
you
Now, at this point, understandably, Bear started trying to do his best to steer the conversation in a completely different direction. And it was going relatively well until Bear decided to ask Kevin why he talks to his opponents during fights. And I guess Rampage, feeling some type of way himself at this point, said that it's because Kevin has a big ego, which triggered Kevin all over again, and he decided to start insulting Rampage's manhood over not being familiar with the caliber of a specific bullet.
Fights get boring sometimes. There's nothing to do. You know, we're just sitting there. So casual conversation rules the nation. And nothing wrong with having a little conversation with somebody. You know, see what happens. You know, it's like we're just standing there looking at each other.
I think it's an ego problem. That's what I think.
Think it's an ego problem?
That's what I think. You
I don't
said
have-
you.
I don't have much of an ego.
Since we've been
Unless we're
honest.
sitting across the table, we're both shooting 45-70s. We're trying to see who can hit the target. I don't have much of an ego.
Well, I'm just.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I'm just telling.
Do you know what a 45-70
I'm just
is?
telling my opinion. You gave your opinion about my temper tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you 100%.
Okay, it's an
But
opinion,
I'm just
right?
saying, like, if it's not a 45-70 that we're shooting across the room, trying to see who hits the target, I'm not worried about it. Do you know what a 45-70 is?
No, I don't.
Okay, then shut the fuck up.
You'll tell me shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
because
you don't understand what a 45-70
he
is.
doesn't know what a
You're talking
45
about ego. Now I'm giving you some ego.
Okay, so-
Ego's when you don't understand what a 45-70 is.
Okay, so-
that pisses me off.
That picture. Cause I don't know what a 45
yeah,
70 is.
that fucks my ego a little bit.
'Cause-
What type of man are you don't know what a 45-70 is?
Because I don't know what a 45 70
Yeah,
is.
that's kind of retarded.
It's retarded.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know what a 45 70
Yeah.
is. Do you know what a 45 70 is?
I would
Be honest.
assume that it's an
Wait.
AR, some sort of
Hey,
rifle.
I assume that it's some type of gun, but do I know what a 45 70 is?
No, you should know what a 45
What is
Why?
it, Kevin? Tell
You're
us
a big
what it
guy.
is.
You should know what a 45
Why,
Kevin,
why
what
should I
is
know
it?
what a 45 70 is?
A little bit smaller than a 50 cal.
Now, seeing as Kevin is calling Rampage all sorts of names here, you would think that the situation wouldn't get any better from here, but surprisingly enough, it did. And I have to give a lot of the credit to Rampage here. He had to take some abuse and not react before Kevin could relax, calm down, and let the conversation progress to a different topic again. And judging by the comments on that episode, most of the people watching felt the same exact way. With that said, this should be an eye-opening and humbling moment for Rampage, because earlier in his career, he was crazy disrespectful to a lot of people under the guise of being funny. Just type Rampage Unleashed into YouTube to see how he used to treat the Japanese people when he fought over in Pride. And yeah, it was funny, hilarious in some cases, but he only got away with it because he was intimidating. He would slap people, choke people, make fun of the way they look, and it's not like these were people that he knew. They were just random people on the street or people he would run into at events. And if he had acted that way, if he was a regular guy or if he was significantly smaller, we might not even have a Rampage today. And that's the thing about being one of the toughest men on earth at one point and then getting older. You gotta realize that you're not what you physically were, and people will start pulling your card. Especially when you're acting like a dick to active fighters that don't know you. This isn't 20 years ago and people aren't scared of you like they were before. It's like a once young and beautiful woman waking waking up at age 60 from a coma and suddenly realizing that the world is not as nice as it used to be all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, you're not that guy anymore, so you gotta adjust your attitude accordingly if you don't want problems with people who are. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And if you want to support this channel further, become a member by hitting the join button if you're on Android or desktop, or the link in the description if you're on iOS.
And honestly, for me and for the audience, to show people what the MMA community truly is about, can we get a little fist pump between you two?
I give Rampage a fist.
Come on, boys! That's how you unite the culture. That's how you unite the culture. Come on,
Don't make
man.
no mistake about it. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth, though. Look, I'm going to make this shit a little bit more funny before we get up off here. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
Really, real reason why I don't like Rampage is because I think my mama got a crush on this nigga.
Oh, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching.
No. Let me see a picture of your mama, though.